Good evening, everyone. This is Super Galaxy Sam here. I know it's been so long. I'm back to streaming, and I have taken the time to kind of update the stream. So there's now a whole bunch of new bits and bobs and bells and whistles for you guys to enjoy. Sadly, this also means for the time being, some of the old stuff, like some of the old sound effects and everything, are gone. But I hope to include them in the future, now that I have more freedom thanks to BikuBot. I should link BikuBot as a command that you guys can pull up when you need to reference it. But yeah, I have BikuBot, which means I have more freedom to do all sorts of crazy things. Such as, let's see, you guys have now commands like this. Which otherwise I wouldn't have been able to do with other bots. And the way I had my stream previously set up, now I can, which is pretty awesome. I also have things like, let's see here. Just quickly looking. Oh yeah, I can now set up very complicated gimmicks too.
Who's that Pokemon?
Oh, wait. Hang on.
It's Who's that Pokemon?
Oops. That's my bad. It should show up as... Oh, hang on. 1 second.
It's
BikuBot flubbed, so let me quickly reset that. It'll be back up. There we go. Now it should work properly. So if I play that command again...
Who's that Pokemon?
There we go. Now it's working correctly.
It's
And then it shows you a link to, it shows you a link to that. I should also quickly adjust this coffee though. And the duck. Duck needs to be fixed real quick. Get that duck. What in tarnations? You gotta get the duck, man. You gotta get the duck. And oh yeah, context on that. So I am out of work until September. That's just how my job works. So it just so happens that I need to raise a bit of money if I want to get this duck, this $50 duck. But I also have commissions open for a smaller goal, which is of $15 for parking admission at a beach that I want to visit on the 15th. Hence the $65 goal. So, if you want to help out with that, definitely go ahead. I have sketch commissions open, and my coffee can be found by pulling up coffee. So now this all works. And yeah, so let's get started with the stream. Let's get into it. It's nice to see y'all again. Yeah. Also, I have a webcam set up. So right now I just took a shower, so I don't want to put on my character's head at this moment. But when my hair dries off more, I'll go ahead and turn on the webcam, and you guys get to see that. So all sorts of fun things. Now, for anyone wondering, will we get to ever see Alien again? Because he only popped up twice? Once or twice on my streams. I am currently working on refurbishing the costume, the cosplay. So I would like to do streams as Alien in the future. I don't know how often. What? I don't know how often. Hi there. I don't know how often, but you know, I hope to do to have him appear more frequently because that would be great. And I might try, so just to pick up Steam again, I might start hosting longer streams. I'll definitely like pick up in frequency. So expect me to stream a whole lot more for multiple reasons. But definitely a big one is just so I can. I should still have my Twitch affiliate. Oh my god, I hope I didn't fucking lose it. But basically, I want to try doing streaming full time, and I do want to hit some major financial goals by earning that money through, you know, being a freelancer. So expect me to be active more often. Because I do miss streaming. I miss kind of building up community and doing all this cool stuff. And, you know, being able to also earn, you know, earn money from Twitch and the like for what I enjoy doing, because I think that's kind of important, is to have like basically something you can work on and towards that you like doing. I think that's more important than just getting whatever job and just running with it, because I've done that so many times. It just doesn't work for me. And yeah. So yeah, I would rather work towards doing what I love as a job, and you know, I figured I would just start small with goals that are like basic things like, oh, I just need to set up a goal to pay for parking admission at, you know, local beach or something like that. So yeah, it's a bit of a, I will admit, it's a bit of an odd return to just see me just go, yeah, I have this going on, but I'm just glad that I can do all this stuff again. Okay. There's definitely some things that I have in the works. I am working on a whole bunch of new YouTube video for you guys. YouTube. A bunch of new YouTube videos, and this includes things like discussing how my novelist rework go, a guide that covers how to play Nightmare, and meme reviews, and also some vlogs, because I have been doing all sorts of things, been going to conventions and all this other fun stuff, and I think you guys might enjoy hearing about it. So look forward to that. Okay, so got him. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Hola, ¿cómo estás? Come here. I need you here. I need you now. Come here. There we go. Got you. You're going on chair, bub. Okay. Come here. Oh, right. So got them. They're gonna go bye-bye. They're gonna leave. There we go. Yep, they're gone. Yes, I am. Hello. Hello, Jesse. How are you? Yes, I'm finally back. I'm back with a whole bunch of new commands and bells and whistles. I'm back with a goal in mind to reach. I'm back with a lot of things. That's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that you're doing well. I'm doing better. There's still some things I gotta work on, and put out, just to get out of my system and out of the way. But overall, I'm trying to work towards some new goals of mine, and also just recover from the struggles I was experiencing the past couple years. Also, I am trying to work towards getting, in Identity 5, I want to work towards getting to Ogre rank. And for legitimately, I would like to try entering Koei finally. But I'm not going to do it until I feel I'm a strong enough Hunter player. Which is why I want to try getting past Manticore finally. Now that I have the time to do it. And, you know, really work towards that. I want to work towards that. I want to work towards some major financial goals down the road, such as saving up to move out. But I'm also, I want to do streaming full time. So I'm going to be more present. Or at least try to be, so. Something that pops up. Oh, it's probably how BikuBot works. So, basically, I switched over most of the stream's workings to just one bot. So, things like moderation, all that. Like, it still has Twitch integration and all else. It wouldn't work. But a lot of things, like the commands and all of that, I'm using a completely different bot for, because it allows for, like, more flexibility, and it's just an overall more powerful bot. I'm not going to chase this person. yeah, you're gonna find a whole bunch of brand new commands. And what's nice is things like sound commands and all of that, I can put as many as I want because now I'm not stuck with whatever the fuck Twitch has set up. So not everything has to be behind a bits paywall, which is real nice.
Lettuce.
Yep, that's there. Some of the older sound commands aren't there, but I want to eventually incorporate them back in. You found the A. Yes. So you know how ones like that. Oh yeah, and also you can, since BikuBot, I forgot about that. Fuck. Yeah, that's a whole, like, the sound effect isn't new. You guys have heard the sound effect, but the video itself as a command is brand new. What else is there? There's also a command that has a hidden Rickroll. But the chances of you getting the Rickroll is something like 1 out of 70. So it's a very secret hush egg Easter egg. If
Are you sure about that?
if you guys find it, congrats. But yeah, we have things like the You Sure command. We have Rumbia's jump scare. I'm not joking. We have Rumbia's jump scare. That's now a thing. Oh? Eyes? Where is this human?
Cheesecake burrito, cheesecake burrito.
Yes.
Cheesecake burrito, cheesecake burrito, cheesecake burrito, cheesecake burrito, making cheesecake burritos.
Oh yeah,
Fucking do.
what I was going to say before I got
Cheesecake burritos,
lost my train of thought, got distracted. Multiple commands
this one instead.
can be played roughly around the same time because I can set up different cues.
Honey,
So I have a cue for sound effects, I have a cue for video effects,
a lot of sugar. A lot of
cue
sugar.
for text-based gags,
I love the sugar. Come here, get in my.
and a cue for like important commands.
You know what else goes with cheesecake burrito? Cheesecake burrito, cheesecake burrito, cheesecake burrito, cheesecake burrito, cheesecake burrito.
I also have two commands that work with each other.
Burrito.
So one command won't work unless you already have the other set up. So I can now set up special commands like that. And they are, so if you type in pull finger here, hang on. It shouldn't, yeah. So you need to type in finger first, and that should pull up the finger. And then you put down pull finger. Oh fuck. It's on a cooldown. But you enter pull finger and well, hello Febzy. Hi. Thank you. And yes, you have joined the stream after my long hiatus. You're just in time to see all the new fancy stuff. So, this is a fresh look for basically everyone. Welcome. How are you? Oh no, I don't want to play Night Watch on White Sand. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Hunter this past year, just because it's faster than Survivor Queue. And also because I want to, like, try working towards actually entering Koei at some point. I would like to aim for this year. And the advice I kept getting from people who play IDV competitively, such as some of the NAEU players who've actually been in the Koei tournaments, is it's a good idea to focus on either Survivor or Hunter gameplay than to try doing both. So yeah, I still play Survivor though, so I do both Survivor and Hunter gameplay, but I do want to get good with Hunter. So currently with Hunters, I main Nightmare, Hellember, and Nightwatch. And I'm also trying to return to playing Photographer and some other characters. Are this long after a roll? Oh, yeah. Yeah, there is. Like, you have the issue of getting a team. Oh, why the fuck are there so many things? I thought. Okay. Yeah, because you have the issue of, like, you gotta get a team of 4 people. You gotta deal with the fact that not everyone wants to play Hunter. All sorts of factors. Thank you. Yeah, I like playing Nightmare a lot. I'm currently between an A and a B badge. I will not get confirmation till Monday, so technically I may very well be an A badge, but I cannot officially say I'm an A badge until I get my A badge. One of those conundrums. And I plan on putting together a guide for him too, because there's only like a few guides on how to play him. And I looked at them and they're okay, but I feel like they're missing some important details. So I want to put together a more comprehensive one that goes over his basic gameplay, how he works. I'm very distracted right now, but that is okay. I'm not playing super seriously since it's not rank. Wait, where did he go? I took my Adderall today, I think. Yeah, it's not. But, yeah, I have a guide in the works. It's like 50% done. And it's literally going to go over a good sum of what makes Nightmare Nightmare, basically. Also, this map's fucking awful. I still, to this day, I still question why this map. Why? just why? Since when can you cancel? Oh. Exactly. It's a great map for other reasons, but for playing it in a standard gameplay mode, it's awful. I would rather so for maps like Golden Cave and White Sands, in my opinion, I think they should just they should keep the maps, but they should remove them from standard gameplay. It should be something that's kept for, say, hide and seek, which is, oh my god. As I was saying, 30 minutes to rank. Yes, that's true. 30 minutes to rank, indeed. Caught me off guard. I have to get used to these new commands too. Them kind of just surprising me. But it's down for ranked. Wait, no. Today's Saturday. Is it Saturday? God, I'm getting old. But if it's a hotfix day, that makes sense. It is. Okay. Where I'm at. Yeah. I'm just accepting this loss right here. So I'm just like, I just want to secure this one person. This one person. 1, 2, okay. See, I wonder, you know what, I will set up some 5v5 play. Post recruitment. Twitch stream. There we go. No. I'm just, let's see here. I'm just gonna. I'm so sorry. Goodbye. I'm just like, I'll give the bishop a chance because I know how little there is up in the higher ranks because not that many people play 5v5. So, I figured, okay, maybe that's... At least this time, I figured I'd just do that, though I feel bad. I don't like kicking people because of the ranking gap, but sometimes it has to be done. I got the Michi skin. Valid. For me, I stopped doing a lot of 5v5 because it got to a point where I kept getting stuck in night, and that became an issue because I would be stuck with too many people not being able to play with me, and that was so frustrating that I was like, okay, I'll just stop playing night until my rank drops to pawn, and it just never dropped to pawn. So I'm forever stuck at night 1. Hello, Pesquet. Welcome to the stream. How are you? It is completely brand new. Oh, shit. Someone pulled a finger. Hang on. Pull finger. There we go. Finger's gone. How are you? We have a whole... Hello, Pack-a-Punch. Welcome to the stream. How are you? Thank you. Thank you, thank you. That's valid. Honestly, here on stream when I do like 5v5s or anything that isn't just straight hunter mode, where you are allowed to invite people, I do allow people in the stream to join us. Oh! Nice! Nice, nice, nice. I'm doing good, Pesquit. How are you? I have a whole bunch of new stream commands for you guys to play around with. So, yeah, definitely check out the commands. I think you guys will find some of them very fun. Oh, whoa? Oh, whoa, speak? Yes, that is still around. Oh, whoa. Oh my god, did I forget OO speak in the commands? I will have to check later. I hope I didn't. It should still be around. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Oh wait, so let's go ahead and do this. I'm a little Night Watch. I'm a little guy. I'm a little guy in stilts. I quite violence. The quad cannon voice. I'm just a little guy. That's why I'm on stilts. And so I can pulverize the enemy. Just a little guy. If you see me, watch out. I'll come after you. Hello! Just a little fellow. Yes. I am just a little fellow. I'm also just a little fellow IRL. And I actually plan on cosplaying Ithaca. Stilts and all. I actually am trying to learn how to walk on stilts. Oh, well, where did you go? Thank you. It is actually, so I ever since I like started practicing to walk on the stilts, I have Skyrunners for him. I have gained so much respect for Ithaca because what he does is not easy. It's really fucking hard. Yeah, I am 5'4". So I am indeed a little guy just like him. Oh wait, so where art thou? Hello? Hello? Oh, I see a person up there. Okay, I'm gonna get this. I do know my measurement in centimeters. It's what about roughly 165 centimeters. Oh my god. It's 163 centimeters. Oh no. Wombius jump scare. Oh no. Yeah, there is a cooldown just to prevent spammage. There is another. It's the stouts. Yeah. Yeah, just stouts IRL, and probably true for Ithaca too, is the stouts make you at least a good 12 to 24 more centimeters tall. Oh wait, I'm gonna leave it there. Bye bye. So, and for those who don't know, who aren't familiar with centimeters, that's like between like 6 to 7 feet. How would one cosplay as Wu Chang? Wear stilts or high heels. High heels. Just go ahead and just layer it all up. I feel so bad for bullying this poor embalmer. Then you'll see which part you get up. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, I'm in a 5v5 match. Fuck. Also, if you hear a rooster, yes, I have a rooster. He's with me in the room. He's existing. Yes, I have a rooster. I can show you guys the rooster real quick. Hi, Norton. Norton, come out. Norty. His name's Norton, cause a year ago when I got him and the like 3 other chickens that I have, I was stumped on names, so I suggested a whole bunch of different names on Twitter and put it as a poll, and people voted for the Time of Reunion gang. So we have there used to be 5, and then I lost 1. So there used to be a Melly, but now we only have Orpheus, Norton, and Alice, and then a 5th one named Corvus. So this rooster is Norton. Norton! Here. Where is my webcam? Norton. You guys have chicken here. Yes, he's a pretty boy. And he's all black. Okay. Come here. Show yourself. Chuk, 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 chuk. An overuse. Oh my gosh. Yes, Norton's stream time, and now he's done. Let me hide the cam. He's like, I'm done. Come back here. Back in your pen you go. So that's Norton. And then he's now upset that I put him back in his pen. The other one is, I have two roosters. One is named Norton and the other is Orpheus. And currently they haven't been getting along. They used to get along fine, like for a whole year, because I got them when they were babies. And anyhow, they just decided to stop cooperating with each other. So now I have to like constantly switch them in and out every few hours, so they get equal time outside in the yard. Look, Norton and Orphe were doing it. It's recreating it. No. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
I am a horse.
Oh my
I am
god.
valid to eat fingers. I love eating little human fingers. Yum yum. Crunches your fingies. They are so delicious. I am a horse. I am valid to eat fingers. I love eating little human fingers. Yum yum. Crunches your fingies. They are so delicious.
Here,
I
I'll
am
live
a horse.
this
I am
person.
valid to eat fingers. I love eating little
Toes
human
versus
fingers.
fingers.
Yum yum.
Oh my god.
Crunches your fingies. They are so delicious.
I I don't know what to tell you guys. It's funny because it's like I know all the commands that I have on the BikuBot, but now I'm not prepared for when you guys like actually use them. I was just valid. I'm just over here like shaking my head like why? I remember like when I started learning how to set up complex commands like that on Biku, I was like playing them over and over because I was just so happy that I could do fancy shit like that. And then yeah, mind you, oh yeah, you watched the video where I was showing off what it looks like. I was showing, so basically for context, y'all, I uploaded a video onto YouTube to show a preview of what to expect with the new stream layout, and I played some of the commands, and the horse was one of them. There's also a text-based command that that plays basically nearly the entire Wikipedia article for Rhinogradentia. There we go. I can't believe I flipped that up. And also, the text-to-speech chatbot should be new and improved. So if you type in !TTS, the chatbot should still work and be updated. Yep, the entire... Oh, fuck. The entire wiki page for Rhino Gradentia. I'm not fucking joking. What is this person doing? And that has a long cooldown for understandable reasons, because it's based... Thank you for the bits! Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Because it's literally an entire wiki page. I think that needs no explanation. And for those new to the stream, Rhino Gradentia is kind of like the inside joke for this channel. Oh my gosh, you guys are playing it again? How long is this wiki page? It's long! It should be something like 15... On Beakerbot, it's like 15 text blocks. Something like that. The cooldown should be something like, 15 minutes. If I set it up properly. This is the end. Yes, finally. Yeah. Like, it goes real fast. Oh, whoa, yes. I'm a little fella. It goes real fast. But, yeah, it's like... almost the entire... It's like the equivalent of shoving the entire B-movie script in. What is this person doing? Yep. There's dad jokes in there. And what's nice about some of these commands, like the dad joke one, I can constantly add more to it as I so please. So we have like 11 randomized dad jokes, and in the future I can add more. Yep. Oh, fun fact about this one. There's a 1 in 70 chance you'll get Rickrolled. So, the dragon command, you get a chance of seeing a certain dragon out of 69 dragons. Yeah, there's cooldowns for all of them because I just didn't want it to go too crazy with noises and everything. But I can always like lower the cooldown rate if people want to like play around with the commands more. But you have a chance of being given a randomized dragon out of 69 dragons, if I remember right. And then there's 1 chance of getting Rickrolled. So... yeah, there is a lot. Which is why I'm probably not going to add any more for a while, but I was like, okay, I want to just learn how to use Beakerbot and add in a whole bunch of new commands, but also return a whole bunch of old favorites. And just let people have fun with them. Exclamation mark commands. And I had something tickle my voice. Oh. Okay. Well then, I'll take that. Child, I don't know why you did that, but alright. That seemed a little bit counterproductive there, kiddo.
Water is the only thing in the universe you know the recipe, and you can't make none.
That is true. that is, you know what? That's a good point. Yes. Yes. So that's a Rhino. So the chatbot is a Rhino Gradentia. And a Rhino Gradentia is basically a nose mouse. It's a speculative biology joke that is so popular among the science community that I believe it's the French Museum of Natural History has a faux taxidermy specimen of a Rhino Gradentia. I am not making that up. There is literally in France's Museum of Natural History a made-up taxidermy specimen that's been like crafted to look like a weird mouse with a long nose. And I think the nose for that Rhino Gradentia is like used as a foot. Wait, but isn't rank not available? Question mark. Yeah, so that's basically a Rhino Gradentia. It's a mouse with a weird nose, and they basically use there's like different versions of Rhino Gradentia, and they like Do you not want to switch? Hello? Why can I not switch?
Okay, you know what? You're in
Oh my
timeout.
God.
Get on top of the fridge. Get up there. This house is a fucking nightmare.
Oh, okay. I don't know what these people wanted to do. And yeah, I made it where currently the commands, for now, they're only available to people who are followers, and anything further up the, I guess, what would it be called? The membership tier list that Twitch has set up. Noted to put snow. No, don't put me on top of the fridge. Anything but the fridge. Why do we have like 2 Lucas? Isn't that not allowed in 5v5? I see. Kicks the stone away. No! Not my stone! I need to be tall! I can only see 5 of them. Okay, so basically with Twitch, you cannot, I know I cannot share. Where is my commands for Twitch? Yeah, so basically with Twitch, the BikoBot commands are separate from the Twitch commands. So the Twitch bit commands are like separate from BikoBot. So they're there, but they're like not part. So they're there, but they're like a different entity, if that makes sense. Yeah, there you go. So that has all of the commands. We'll go. No! Why are you? Oh my god! Oh my god! You guys! Why must you kick the widow dinosaur? I'm just a little guy. I'm literally... Do you not know how tall dromaeosaurs get? I mean, like, there were some that were big, but, like, things like velociraptors, they were tiny. They were tiny. They were only, like, the size of, like, a small dog. Or a chicken. You're gonna kick a little guy? Oh, fuck. Well, I think he went for the shins for you guys. I can't believe he kicked a little guy down. Why you kick a little guy down? Man, my shins were taken out, guys. We got a ban against the top one. Oh. Yes. Well, I deserve that. To be fair, we're at 5 ciphers. Oh, fuck. My fucking mouse wasn't on the fucking WASD key. God damn it. Yeah, just like, I think it'll be available within roughly 2 to 3 minutes. Ah, yes, the classic. This is an oldie. This was part of the original stream. And, longtime members of the channel have infamously spammed it. I still want to make the 4th and 5th anniversary YouTube poop versions. Yes! So basically, there's currently 2 right now. I still haven't made a new one, but I plan on basically making a YouTube poop version of all the official IDV songs. I'm gonna dismiss this team. So yeah, that exists. Here, I can preview the Koei 5 one, because I can just turn on the commands without needing to worry about cooldown. So here's the Koei 5 one, if it will play. Here we go. Yeah, it's now playing. Oh, rank is open. Oh, wow.
Number 15, Burger King foot lettuce.
My mic's so sensitive, sometimes it picks that up. But yeah, currently, all BikuBot commands. Yes. All BikuBot commands are set to where followers in higher tiers can use them. This one was real fun to just scramble.
We're nothing but pets and livestock trapped in captivity in this city forever. Let's continue the carnival tonight. Maybe tomorrow we'll see again.
I also plan on making these YouTube poop versions available for download at some point. I just don't know where yet. Damn it. Okay. I can play with Leo.
Waffle fries.
Yes, waffle fries indeed. Rip Ithaca. His stoves have been taken away. And his memory, yep. Not to rage and uninstall. That is a mood. Me with like any Adobe application. Here, I'll go ahead and enable commands in a moment to be set to follower, or not follower, to just anyone, just so you can have fun with them. May have to change oh shit. I know Jack is supposed to get a buff, but he hasn't gotten his yet. I will say about Jack, ever since they kind of like, quote unquote, debugged his foggy blades, so they don't go through walls, I've just been having such a fucking frustrating time playing him. Because I'm used to using the foggy blades through the walls, and now I can't do that anymore. So I'm kind of like holding out until they give him his buff, which I hope they do, because they're like, oh yeah, he's gonna get a buff. But they've done the same for like, I think Hellumber, and then they didn't give Hellumber the buff. I just need a better... That is valid, honestly. I've redone a few of my builds. I can't remember if I have the old build or the new build on Leo, though. I need to check that. So I will do those couple of things after this match. I'll change up the command settings, and I'll also check what build I have on Leo.
I walk my dog up and down,
Down the streets.
Thrice a day. This dog is a good dog. I walk him up and down the streets thrice a day because he deserves it. And he deserves it because he is bestest dog in the world. I love this dog. Good puppy. You are an excellent puppy. You help me with everything because he is the bestest dog in the world. I walk him up the streets thrice a day because of those reasons. First reason, he is excellent.
There we
Second
go.
reason, he is lovely. Third reason, he is the bestest dog in the world. And this is why you walk your dog up and down the streets thrice a day.
Exactly. You guys gotta walk your dog up and down the streets twice a day. It's mandatory. Indeed. Okay. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not going over there. You are going to be denied access, and I'm going to go over here. There we go. Man, I've been like I had a period where I was doing awful as Hellumber, and I've been a B badge Hellumber for a while. So apparently I am getting back into my game, which is nice. Because I honestly love it. One of the most satisfying things is when you do clap survivors like that. Because currently there is virtually zero repercussion for the most part. Thank you for the bits. There is zero repercussion for the most part on dismantling Leo's puppets. Like, technically, yeah, he could come over like you guys just saw, and they can, like, they do lose time dismantling them and everything, but it's like they don't get terror shocked. That's all I ask for is, as someone who's mained Leo for a long time, all I ask for a buff with Leo is nothing too complicated. I just want them to have more repercussions for messing with his puppets and just better AI. That's it. That's all I ask for. But yes, I am absolutely, when I have the ball rolling as Leo, I'm fucking terrifying. So let's see here. I'm gonna put the puppet there just to track where they are. All right. Here we go. So now we are down to prisoner. And he's probably going to get dungeon, no doubt. Oh. Actually. Because I don't know where dungeon is. I have guesses, but... Oh. Yeah, okay, I have a good idea of where Dungeon is then. Because if he's over here with me, then Dungeon has to be, pretty damn far away. So he's not gonna last long. And I am Boo Boo the Fool. He is not gonna last long. Makes a Boo Boo the Fool a mistake. There we go. Okay, let me fix up the commands real quick, because most of the commands do have that permission. Finger. Or is it only the ones that can get super obnoxious if spam too much that have the command settings? Because when I first got access to a lot of these sound commands before I knew what BikuBot was, I was like using what Twitch suggested, and people were like constantly spamming them like every minute and every second, and was like, oh my god, I should probably tone it down. So that's why I put it in cooldowns, but I'll go ahead and make it so yeah. So people who aren't followers, they can use the commands, because I think y'all right now are probably going to be fine with it. So doop.
Wake up!
Yep. I actually forgot wake up is still a bits command for 0 bits. Because I also have it as just a straight up command with BikuBot, so you don't have to worry about the bits stuff. But let's see here. I think I got all of them. Bogus Binted. Okay, Bogus Binted is now enabled for non-followers. The BoomBS ones should be enabled for non-followers. There's also the Budding one, Burger King. Just quickly going through all of this. Yeah, most of the commands should be enabled. Who is the opera singer? I have so many questions. That is valid. The opera singer is Sangria, and basically from what I understand, she has some occultish stuff going on, kind of like with Antonio and the devil, but for her it's like some other demon. Okay, let me get the I'm high one. Command save. It should work. Let me reset BikuBot. And if it doesn't work for this stream, it should hopefully be reset when I do the next stream tomorrow. Yeah, cult lady. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so I reset BikuBot. See if that works, and if not, then I at least have it enabled for non-followers for tomorrow's stream. So And also, you know what? Since I'm doing longer streams, I plan on doing longer streams these days. I might, if I feel like it, I might do a second one tonight. Up to you. But yeah, if I feel like doing a second stream today, it'll be after I eat, and that'll also give an opportunity for OBS and everything to reset. So any changes that were made with BikuBot should hopefully work right after. Let's see here. Oh, I can work with the Steam. All right, let's go. Vamos. Let's see. Hello. Is anyone home? Ah, there is. Come here. Oh, where are you? I will find you, and you will be in my grasp. Oh, it's Merc. Why am I chasing Merc? I often, like, I prefer not to chase Merc if I can avoid it. So, I'm gonna actually change. Because it doesn't look like I'm going to get anywhere close to reaching him. Have base. Cosmetics, but I just be like that. I don't know why. I have some of the other Leo skins. I don't have too many. Just because he just doesn't have many to begin with. But I think up until the A tier that was given in the to him in the toy merchant essence, all I had was his B skins. And they're cool up until you get tired of seeing them. So I have ones like the Puppet Master and all that, and I used to play with the Puppet Master one, but then I got real annoyed with his noise, because it does get a little annoying after a while. It's a cool costume, but oh my god, the Puppet Master one, the one that looks like the Saw puppet, he can get real, like, hearing him constantly in a match as the hunter gets so fucking annoying. Yeah, it's like, and it's like, we get it. You laugh. That's great that you laugh. We all laugh. Thank you for that information. And then the other ones, like the Butcher one and all that, they just look a little odd, and I was like, But I do have, as far as I know of, all the currently available B skins for him. At least the old B skins. I think he did get like a new B skin with the Orfeo essence. And that one I don't have. I will have to check. But all the old ones that have been around since forever, I do have. And did they... I think they got rid of his ability to not be stunned by the stunners when he like just teleports. Because I used to not have that issue. And now I do. I should be used to it, but no. Oh no. I'm sorry. That is honestly fair. For some reason, I don't find Smileys as obnoxious as the puppet face guy, but I think it's just, I don't know. I don't know why. I can tolerate Smiley for some reason, but I cannot fucking stand the Saw puppet one. Wait, fuck. No, my puppet is moving. It's moving and grooving. Oh no. Maurice, do something. I don't know why I was like, oh yeah, I don't sound anything like King Julian. I can't do the cursed. I cannot. I will say I cannot do the cursed Mort voice.
King Julian!
Burger King foot, right ass.
Oh yay, it works. That's nice to know. Okay, so I got a tie.
King Julian! It's I, Mort!
Once upon a time, I used to be able to do like some pretty high-pitched voices, but I cannot do them anymore. Oh shit, I'm almost in Manticore. I fucking love that video. It is just serotonin. Hang on. Actually, let's see what costumes I have for Hellumber real quick. Costumes. So, here's the ones I have. I have Perception, Moonface, Mr. Puppet, Silence, Executioner. I have the Santa one, Warm Clothes. Yeah, I literally don't have... Okay, so I am wrong. I don't have all of the B tiers for him. But I definitely don't have the A tiers. I'm going to unlock this one. Confirm. Because yes. And I am going to dismantle this one. Norton! Okay, real quick, guys. I think Norton's on his chicken timer. I think his chicken timer is done. He wants to go outside, so I'm going to switch the two roosters. I will switch the roosters out, and I'll be right back. Come here. All right, I am back. The rooster's been swapped out, so now we have Orpheus with us. And Norton's out in the backyard with Alice. So, here we go. And I will let you guys... What was that? I think it was my water. I took a quick swig of water. And heads up, y'all. Orpheus is far more chattier and more vocal than Norton. Norton's quiet. Orpheus is the talkative one. Alright, so let's see here. We're on Sacred. We have toy merchants here. I am currently the 117th. I am the 97th Nightmare. Yeah, I can go with this. Wait, no, hang on. Change builds. There we go. So I was on the wrong build. I was on my old build. Oh my gosh. I was like, why am I not performing as well as my other hunters? And then I realized, oh, it's because I have them on the wrong old build. See here. Where is Human? Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Dónde? KS. Oh. I'm so used to one of the older strategies that's usually more common in the lower ranks, because I was stuck there for a little bit. Of just survivors hiding behind the fucking pallets and just standing there. Fuck. There we go. That's what I like about Leo, is you can do stuff like that. Actually, something I've been doing more in terms of strategies, trying out different strategies with them, is I've been trying to kind of use the puppets more to just intimidate survivors. So I'll throw the puppets in like areas close to the survivors, or just areas close to the survivors, or kind of like within their general path, so it kind of makes them wary about... Oh, fuck. That's fine. I got Toy Merchant on second chair. Oh, okay. Nope. It's fine. Nah, fam, you ain't going anywhere. Fuck. I should have destroyed that. It's fine. Yeah, all I want as a Leo main in terms of buffs is just a better repercussion for messing with his puppets. And, just better AI. That's all I want. It's just those two things. He doesn't really, like, he doesn't need much of anything else. Actually, I saw the Q&A, the developer Q&A, and they were like, people were like, oh, is he ever gonna get buffed? And they're like, we'll think about it, but we're hesitant to. They were basically like, we'll think about it, but we're hesitant to, because he has crazy strong camping abilities, which I understand. And so I can understand why he hasn't been buffed in a while. It's because if they aren't careful, they can actually make him too overpowered. And made the mistake of selecting brain fail. God, that is a mood. I've done that before. I've done things where I've like been too damn distracted. And okay, cool. I will take that. Fuck. That's fine. I can take a tie. Alva, no. Take Smiley. God. I remember, like, doing that mistake. But it was with, this was a while back. I remember doing that mistake, but with a Hunter I was still learning at the time, which was, Galati. And I was like, wait, this isn't quick match. This isn't quick match. This isn't quick match. Fuck, 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 fuck. I was like internally screaming the entire time. I was like so fucking stressed. Somehow, I actually managed to get a 3K, but I was so stressed out. And also, this was back when Galati was still new, so her statues weren't so heavily nerfed and slow. Nowadays, I don't play her as much anymore because, well, it's kind of frustrating with how slow her sculptures are. Yeah, exactly. I play Galati on and off. But the only reason why I play her on and off is because the gradual nerfs they kept giving her just made it more frustrating to try learning her. So I never got a chance to properly learn how to play her. And now it's just, I'm so used to how the speed she used to be at that, I'm gonna do a couple survivor matches. I think I can do that. I'm so used to the speed she used to be at that I'm completely thrown off these days. I keep twisting. That is valid. I play on the computer and I use a gaming mouse with customized hotkeys. So it's a little easier to reach
I am a horse. I am valid to eat fingers. I love eating little human fingers. Yum,
so
yum.
it's easier to reach
Crunches
the
your
controls,
fingers.
but
They are so delicious. I am a horse.
I
I
can
am
see
valid
for
to
like
eat
mobile
fingers.
players
I
how
love eating little human
she
fingers.
can be like
Yum yum. Crunches your fingies. They are so delicious. I am a horse.
a
I am
threat
valid
to
eat fingers.
wrists.
I love eating little human fingers. Yum yum. Crunches your fingies. They are so delicious.
Oh my god. Ah, yes. The horse. Any survivor caricature name. You mean like their occupation names or like the names they officially have? The phone crunches their fingers when they play. God, oh, that's terrible. Yeah, I can imagine. I don't play mobile, just because my phone can't handle IDV. It's an old phone. I've played IDV a few times on my phone, and it works okay-ish, but my fingies are big. Okay, thank you. Thank you for specifying. My fingies are big, and my phone is small, and my hands are big. Yowie hands. And my phone is small, so... and old, so it lags. On any modern day app, it's a nightmare. I cannot play Hunter on my phone. I can only play Survivor. Because it lags too much for Hunter gameplay. Maybe now, with all the optimization they've been doing, maybe it's possible, quote unquote, on air quotes around possible, for me to play Hunter on my phone if I really wanted to. But I just, no. I have since uninstalled the app for my phone now that I can completely play it on my PC. Ma'am? Ma'am? Oh, ma'am. Oh, ma'am, oh, ma'am. Like zoinks, ma'am, you're coming to come get me? Oh, no. The hunter is approaching. Nah. Okay, I'm gonna... because I'm about to die. I'm about to die. Nearly 2 a.m. Oh, shit. Yeah, thank you for joining. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'll be streaming more often. Thank you. Thank you for stopping by. Have a wonderful night. Allow. There we go. I forgot. I'm like, that command. Oh my gosh. I will have to enable it on Twitch's moderation. Oh my gosh. I did not consider that, so. Yes, that's why I honestly encourage you guys to mess around with the commands, because it gives me a chance to see what's working and what isn't, and what works for who. So definitely, definitely play around with the commands whenever you guys stop by the streams, because it gives me a chance to see what's, what needs configuration. Alright, okay, so I am about to get this cipher almost done. Cipher machine primed. Don't rescue me. I figured she would do that. That is fine. Because the other three are going to just get out. Oh, no. No, she is going to try catching up to them. What build DX uses? Gosh, I don't know. Okay, so she's coming back. Oh yeah, I forget that's a thing now too. There's a little Easter egg where every what was it? Every 30 minutes or something, a little sussy gif of one of the of three, currently just three IDV characters plays. Eventually, I want to do more. But for now, it's only just 3 of them. Yes, Orpheus, thank you. Thank you for your input. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. Thank you. Wait, can I play this game while I can? Oh my gosh! A whole new world has opened up. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, I've been trying to fucking defeat Alice. I have yet to beat her. I get so damn close. Yeah. I had to update my builds. And I haven't fully updated all of them. I still need to update certain ones. God fucking damn it, Alice. Alice! Ma'am, why? Why? There's no up to... Dang. I guess this means you will have to be the first to pioneer one. Just like how there currently isn't any up-to-date good nightmare guides. God damn it. Alice. Why? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué, mi juego? No! Come on. She out here eating all the fucking game board pieces. Okay, I can show that. Let me, you know, get this round finished as she fucking eats up all the game pieces. God damn it. Okay, leave. Alright, so here is the build I used on Leo. So this is the current Leo build I have. Detention, insolence and detention with Hunt, because Nightmare and Leo, you know, they benefit from a speed boost. Addiction and Agnostic. So that's what I use. And I also have Constrain. So that's currently the build I use for Nightmare and Leo. There's also this alternative build that I have yet to use. But basically it's roughly the same thing, except you have Control Freak here instead. And yeah. And then there's this full-on detention one that I have yet to mess around with. It's just detention with addiction, wanted order, impact, mischievous, rage, and claustrophobia. So those are the new ones. These other ones I have yet to honestly mess with. I should probably change them up, but I just haven't. So that's what I'm using. Girl, I swear. Okay, so I was trying to record her this round of going against her for documentation purposes on YouTube during the Orfeo event. Like, that was my hope, was that, oh, maybe something will unlock if I defeat her in time, because Yidra has like a certain like Yidra in the different paths you can take for the speech lines. Yidra apparently has a locked speech line that currently I don't think anyone has managed to successfully unlock. And my suspicions were, oh, well, maybe you have to defeat Mystery Man, aka Alice, and Reversi to unlock the voice line, the speech line, the talk line, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, I was working on that, but I was lagging behind on time. I was not doing everything within a timely manner. So by the time I got to Reversi and decided to, you know, play it and thought, oh, maybe there's some relevance to the Orfeo event with it, it was already like just hours before maintenance was going to occur and the Orfeo event was going to end. So I was crunching at the bits to try getting this game, the opponents defeated, and I just could not defeat her. So I got pretty much almost all the dialogue for the Orfeo event recorded and ready to edit to put up as a YouTube video, except for that one line that Yidra apparently has. I'm gonna try this new hunter, then ask someone, ooh, yeah, that's a good idea. That's honestly not a bad idea. Girl, I swear. Girl. Woman. Nuh-uh. No. No. No! Ma'am, you can't do this shit to me. Oh, okay. So much for that. Luca, party fever. I think I played with this character before. Okay. The stickers. Wait, what even are the... I just realized this. I just realized I haven't updated my Survivor builds yet. Oh my god, I have so many builds to update. Sobbing, crying. Ferally crying. This new hunter's dumb. Oh, you mean the opera singer? With the whole shadow thing. I have yet to play her. I want to play her and possibly main her if I like her gameplay. But I can see why you would say that. I don't know from a hunter perspective, but from a survivor perspective, she can be a little frustrating. Yeah, boy, I am hitting all these perfect calibrations. Nice. Fuck. Oh, I can counter Geisha. Okay, that shouldn't be much of an issue for me. Novelist is a decent counter against her. Does not let you... What? Oh my god. Okay, I will have to... try her out in customs and in single training. Oh my gosh. Yeah, try her out in single training and do a couple quick matches with her. Because I want to see this for myself. Alright. Hello, Mr. Composer. Hello, hello, Frederick. I'm sorry that I'm French. Freeberg. Why are you running from me? Is it because I fucked you for saying I'm sorry that I'm French and ashes of memory? Come back here! Okay. Hello, welcome back. Welcome back, magician. It's been good. Oh boy. Oh boy. I think what I might do, since I do want to stream more often, is I might have it where, since my sleep schedule is weird these days, like, I get up at an insane early time in the morning. What I might do is I might have it where almost every day I do a daytime stream and then a daytime afternoon stream and then a very early morning, late at night stream. Because I get up at, if you guys want to know what time I get up these days, just by habit, thanks to the type of work I do, I get up at like 4 to 5 a.m. Beans indeed. God, what if I man, what if I create some sort of stream gag with the beans? What if I do that? I could do that. Beans is good. Beans are good. They're very good. Where's custom script? There we go. I am gonna do practice mode. I'm gonna try out Sangria. But yeah, I get up at usually 5 a.m. in the morning. Let's see. By the way, I will say I am a fucking sucker for her kick that she does. When she shadow dances, I'm like, go girl! You fucking pop off! Oh! Oh! Just... I'm sorry, but I love when she does the leg thing. I'm up before you do the time zones. Let's see here. Cancel, skill cooldown. Okay, so... Okay, so this is F. Like, oh my god. Hang on. I want to increase presence. Not for any reason. Totally not because I just want to see her do the leg kick. I'm sorry. I really like the leg kick. How does she do the leg kick? Well, she does that. Oh. She does that. It reminds me of sangria soda. That is valid. Oh. I'm gonna have to like change her controls or set up a different hotkey thing for her. Cause these controls are kind of whack. Use her shadows? Okay. I'm sorry, I was obsessed with trying to see her do the leg kick. Just saying. Just saying. Not the alcohol, the soda alternative? What? There's an alcohol one? I only know the soda. What? This is news for me. What do you mean? There was originally... I thought sangria was a soda. Just a flat-out carbonated drink. I didn't know it was alcohol. What do you mean it's alcohol? Don't you see? It says carbonated ultra. No, no, no. Where are you guys living in some fucking alternate universe? Am I suffering the Mandela effect? Because as far as I know of, there's no. What? What do you mean? Probably is a good idea. That's probably fair. How does this work? Listen, I just want to see woman kick leg go purr. I have my priorities straight. I have my priorities straight. Okay, so like when she does that, it has to be like within the vicinity or like the nearby vicinity of Next time you see it, look closer at the pint. I'll make sure to do that then. DM it to me when you do. Fair enough. I'll try to remember that. Alright, this time I'll actually try playing instead of being like, leg so hot, leg kicking, go burr. Listen, I think I love the animation. It's great. It's wonderful. She just does a backflip like a badass bitch. And I love it. Listen. A woman who can sing damn well, do like back kicks like that and kick ass. I like that. Okay, so Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. Got it. Alright, let's do this thing. Alright. So, the goal for this custom practice is just trying to figure out the controls. And also how this ability works.
In chat.
I'm valid. Thank you for stopping by.
Hey, just wondering if you got your photos printed?
Always printed?
What?
So she does that. So she glides to like the nearest shadow when possible. And then... Oh. I mean, you can control it, but it takes a certain amount of control. And I think it's based on where your mouse is, like where your camera's pointed. Because if yeah, it's based on where your camera's pointed. R. Okay, and you have like a certain cooldown. So it doesn't have a long duration in comparison to like Nightmare's Ravens. From the looks of it. And you can dash out, which is actually kind of nice. For me, well, as someone who plays characters like Nightmare and Leo and Nightwatch, her play style I actually enjoy. I think with time, if I figure out how to play her, she's probably going to become the next character I main. That, and she also sings pretty. Yes. Listen, I think she sings good. She sings real nice. So personally, I think the way to go with her is use peepers. She has a fucking short hit range, which I'm typically not a fan of. I don't like... Okay, so I don't like short hitboxes. It's why you don't see me play Geisha and BQ much. I don't necessarily like the short hitboxes. I like medium to long ones, to say the least. She sucks. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did nerf Wu Chang. Because I remember, like, reading something about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and real quick, I'm gonna go ahead and make a well, actually no, I'll do that later. I was about to be like, oh, I'll make a set of new hotkeys for her with my gaming mouse, so it's easier for me to reach the controllers. By the way, I highly, oh. Oh, that's interesting. Oh! Okay, this isn't too bad. So she does like that, so, oh, okay. I think I can, I think I can get used to that. But for those who play IDV and the PC, and you guys also have like other apps that have a lot of weird, funky ass key controls and all of that, I highly recommend. It doesn't have to be an expensive one. You can get them relatively cheap these days. I highly recommend getting your hands on a gaming mouse that allows you to map your hotkeys. And the reason why I say that is because it basically allows a lot of the default keys to be more within your reach. It makes things more accessible. And that's how I've been playing IDB for like 3 years now, if not more. Is with this gaming mouse, and that way I can basically reach the controls with roughly the same, reach as a lot of mobile players. It's doesn't fix everything, like all the problems that games and applications like IDV have, but it's a reasonable solution because it makes things more accessible to you without having to worry too much about fiddling with the controls themselves. You can just set up your hotkeys and have everything just kind of readily available right there for you. And that way, if you need to change your controls, like say you're playing a character with weird, really weird out there controls, like Antiquarian on the PC, you can just switch your hotkey setups and you're good to go. So, yeah, I have a couple. So basically, my gaming mouse, is a Logitech G502 Hero. And it comes with like 11 buttons. And it allows you to switch between like 8 different map controls. So as a result, I have one for 3D modeling, I have one for Hunter and for general IDV gameplay. I have one specifically for Hermit Alva because his controls are just weird for the PC. And then, yeah. So I highly recommend getting your hands on a gaming mouse if you use complex applications and play weird, finicky games like IDV. Just because it does allow for that extra control, which is very nice. I'm going to say that right now. It also just reduces strain on your hands. So if you have like problems with like carpal tunnel and all that, it might help a little bit with that. I can't guarantee it, but you know, anything's better than nothing, they say. I was told to use 6.9 to pallet breaking Berserker. Oh, interesting. Basically 6.9, I believe, is like if I remember right, 6.9 is insolence, detention, boosted pallet speed, and then anti-stun. So basically, they're like saying they want you to play a speedier Wu Chang. That also doesn't suffer too heavily from stuns. So he's gonna get stunned, but basically the idea is his stuns won't last as long than usual. And pallet breaking is to cover up for basically pallet breaking is to like cover up for like the slow speed he can have in one of his forms. Down and left. Yeah. I forgot for a second. That's why I had to like take a moment to think and go, okay, which one was 6.9 again? But yeah, that's basically what they're saying. They're saying, yeah, we suggest you play a Wu Chang that counters a lot of this pallet breaking shit that people do these days, and not pallet breaking, but like the pallet slamming and the stuns. Yeah, baby. Okay. I want to get Psyche here. So I am... Okay, I will do that. Okay, so let me check that. Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it looks like generally the opinion that they are advising here is they suggest you choose builds for Wu Chang that are like based on anti-stun and speed. And I'm not surprised because that generally seems to be kind of the current, I would say kind of the current meta, quote unquote, for how the current roster of hunters and survivors looks like. Because this is just an observation. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. But from observation, it constantly seems like whenever they release new hunters and survivors, generally the new hunters and survivors counter each other. And as a result, they do well against each other, but like older characters lag behind because they weren't designed in mind to have a balanced counter against the new characters. So as a result, you kind of end up with this weird power creep. And also as a result, the new characters basically dictate how a lot of popular builds are going to go. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it does. And I hope it's not completely out there. But I hope that's a reasonable guess. Because if you notice, or like Nightmare and Novelist, they counter each other. Nightmare and Little Girl, aka Memory, they counter each other. I want to say photographer, not photographer. Journalist and Nightmare, they counter each other because you have to keep in mind they were supposed to release Time Reunion a little bit earlier than what actually happened. The whole storyline got delayed because of COVID. So actually, at least with Novelist, Nightmare, and Little Girl, we were supposed to get those characters earlier within IDV's life cycle. Wu has no counters. My suspicions are, I would say, maybe, First Officer could count as, like, a light counter to Wu. Not a hard counter, but, like, a light counter. Generally, this is an observation, but, like, usually the ones that definitely have counters are the ones that have some sort of lore tied to each other. Not always, but that seems to be a common pattern I've noticed. Not since Wu Chang's hitbox, so it hits passes away. Oh. That's fair. Any survivor that can still make contact during the stun. I see. Yeah, I don't know enough about Wu Chang. I've only played like a little bit of him to get an idea of how he works. And I play more First Officer. But that was just an observation I noticed. Is like, he doesn't fully counter Wu Chang, but you know, the idea is there. Fuck. Where did Patient go? I am probably, after, I would say maybe one more match, I'm gonna wrap it up here. And, go find someone to raid, because I am getting tired from all the lot of talking that I've been doing today. But I will definitely host a stream very early in the morning if I feel like it. So for me, that's probably gonna be something weird, like, I don't know. Somewhere within the range of basically 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. Your next long break. I swear I'm not gonna be gone for super long now. I wanna get back to streaming, so I will make sure to not disappear again. But one stream every, no. Oh no, no. Is everyone offline? Fuck, everyone's offline. Okay, well, I'm surprised. Everyone is offline at this moment. But, I guess I'll call it here. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I hope you guys had fun with the return and all the new stuff to look forward to. I'm definitely going to optimize some things, like the GTFO command needs to be enabled. Because I forgot that Twitch would catch that as, like, a curse word. So I'll make sure to enable that. I'm probably going to reduce the length on the cooldowns, because people really wanted to, like, use them and everything. And I'll keep it for now where non-followers can use the commands, but if it gets out of hand, I will probably disable it to only, like, followers or higher tiers. depending on what the command is. So yeah, I'll reduce cooldown. I'll make it so more people can use the commands. I'll enable GTFO so people don't get yelled at by Twitch for trying to use the command. I have some videos in the works, and I'm just gonna try streaming like at least almost every day. At least one time in the early morning, one time in the afternoon / nighttime. So people from like different time zones can see my streams. And yeah! Oh god. There goes the Rumbius. A lot of these videos that you're seeing here can be found on my Twitch. Not my Twitch, excuse me, my TikTok and my YouTube channel. I'll be uploading more videos to TikTok as well, so come check those out. With that said, I'll see y'all later, and have a wonderful night, okay? Bye-bye.